Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club. If you're at all interested in anything we talk about in this episode, go ahead and check out the description down below, or if you even just want to know more about us, click on the links below. Now on to the episode.
Yes, Coffee Expert Club, Ben Clatterbuck.
Good day to you, sir.
I'll tell you what, Drew Moody, man. Hey, enjoy your vacation for a month, you sucker. Enjoy your fun scenic motorcycle ride across Guatemala and Mexico. I love it. Your comment on the meeting right before this was so classic, Ben, when you told Taryn, Taryn's like, I don't know, I just get bored. And Ben's like, have a couple kids. I'll give you a cure right now. I'm like, Drew, have a couple kids, bro. Come on now, lock and load.
Seriously, I'm like, these guys, they're the kid having age. They should be popping them out now.
Right? Although I will say they are a little bit younger than you, maybe not Taryn, but Drew. And I don't know, at Drew's age, you're at the kid having age necessarily. I think you're still at Ben the curmudgeon age. What are your thoughts on that?
Drew just turned 30, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, well, kinda. I think 30 is where I started kind of get to the point where I was like, maybe to start thinking about having some kids.
2016, there is no way 10 years ago that you were thinking about having kids.
10 years ago was 2016. Oh my God. Yeah, no, that wasn't even that wasn't even part of the picture.
That was not part of the picture, dude. That was hanging out with Cody Anderson, going to the bar, you and Steven and Cody, like all the time, like maybe going to Italy and getting into your fancy phase, that phase you got into of getting all dressed up, right? When was your Italy trip? Do you remember what year you went to Italy?
We went to Italy in 2018, maybe? 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on, bro. Like, I get it. You're a family man now. I get it. You're a dad, dude. But like, these kids, like, your babies were not a twinkle in the eye of 2016 Ben Clatterbuck.
Man, 10 years ago is a weird thing. Because when you say 10 years ago, I'm like, that's not that long ago. But then when you say 2016, I'm like, God, that's a lifetime ago.
That's what Drew's thinking. Anyway, so we're missing Drew today. He's out cruising around. But I am excited for the episode when Drew comes back, because he's going to talk to us about all of his coffee experience. He's been stopping into cafes and coffee shops all the way across Guatemala, all the way up into Mexico and back. So, and also bean farms, like he's hitting some cool stuff. So I'm excited for the super classy, bougie Drew Moody to come back and tell us about all his endeavors in coffee throughout the Central American region.
He was like, we're building another cafe.
Dude, he's got all, and that's the other thing, right? Like leaving him alone on a motorcycle with nothing but time to think, dude. He's got all these crazy ideas. I'm like, easy, Turbo. Who do you think's been battening down the shop since you were gone? You come back, we got a bunch of things to clip you back into. Not all your new ideas you want to go do.
He's going to come back with a brand new business plan. I guarantee it.
He told me on our call this morning, he goes, hey, so I just want to prep you. And he leaned in with his idea. I'm like, I just want to prep you. I'm not excited about that idea. So anyway, it'll be an adventure.
Oh my God, that's great.
Anyway, hey, so I thought we could talk about today, Coffee Experts. Thanks for just being a fly on the wall to me and Ben, shooting the shit about a bunch of stuff that is just silliness. Anyway, so I thought we could talk about something today I think is really important, and that is when should you get what from who? When it comes to supply chain, what are the things you should consider, like who you're buying from, how much you're spending on it? Is there a time you should consolidate? Should you keep things separate? When you do consolidate, what are the things you should consider? And just the age-old truth that we talk about all the time here on Coffee Experts, and that is the two ways that you grow your bank account. One through making more sales, the other one through saving money. So Ben Clatterbuck, what are your thoughts? I know you've been migrating several coffee shops over to this whole school of thought.
I mean, it's when you're first starting out, you got your first location. It's kind of like, you can do your research, but most people will go with either what they're familiar with or what, pops up first in their searches. Like, where do I get milk? Okay, you sell milk, I'll buy from you. So it's really something that unless you are somebody who your whole thing is doing a lot of due diligence before you make a decision, which, let's be honest, most visionaries aren't that. So I doubt if you're listening to this and you've started a coffee shop that you've gone this route. Unless you're a big due diligence person, you've probably just went with like whoever you saw somebody else using or whoever, like I said, came up with your Google search first. So really, it's something that you need to look at probably a year into your operations. Once you've got your regular ordering schedule down, once you've got your regular customers, business is kind of at a steady spot, then you can start looking back and say, okay, what am I paying for all of this? Are there better vendors? Because when you're first starting out, like it's up and down. You've got customers one day, the other you don't. It's really hard to determine, am I overpaying? What's good? But I recommend at least, let's say 6 months to a year in of your first location, start reevaluating and go, okay, this is what I'm paying for milk. Are there better options out there? Now that you really know what you're going to be ordering, how much you're going to be ordering. Okay, now I know I go through, 40 gallons of milk a day. Okay, now that's a good baseline. I can start going and price shopping around. So I've been working with a few clients here about this, and they're all, a lot of them started off with the metal golds or the FSAs or this and that, and they're realizing that there are cheaper options out there. A lot of them are realizing it because I looked at their P&L lines and go, holy hell, why are your COGS 47% of your revenue? And they go, well, it's supposed to be lower than that. Like, yes, you shave a good 8 points off that number, bare minimum. And that starts the conversation of, okay, where are you getting your stuff? Well, we use a combination of FSA plus metal gold. I'm like, okay, would it be cheaper if we put those into one? Would, or go with a more local vendor? So all these questions you have to start asking once you really get that steady stream of business through your location.
Yeah, I mean, I think so well put. And you mentioned something there, and I think it's good for us to throw it out a couple of times in the show. So if you miss it this time, I'll circle back around at the end. But profit and loss is something you should be driving this conversation based off of, right? As much as you're driving your POS system for your sales, right? I hope you're watching your numbers in your POS system, holding year over year. Most people are, right? They pull up the app, whether it's Square or Toast or Clover, whatever it is. You're probably looking at the app all the time. I think that's what most visionaries do, is they focus a ton on sales. Well, the volume's not enough, or the per unit per transaction isn't high enough, and like, how can we get more transactions? So that's the car times, right? All these different things. I think visionaries, business owners, a lot of times focus on sales because savings isn't as sexy, but both increase your bank account, right? You can drive more sales to increase your bank account. You can also cut and save, right? So sales or save, both of them will actually increase your bank account, but your profit and loss should be what tells you that. I think a lot of people result to sales driven growth because it's easy to watch their bank account increase, or it's easy to watch your Square dashboard increase, and you're like, oh, we're killing it on sales. And you don't have heart palpitations when your sales are great, but you start having some pretty high anxiety when your sales drop. You don't have to have so much anxiety when you're managing the profit loss, which is the other side of the equation, right? So the question of how I'm spending what I'm making, and if I could drop my costs, I'm actually going to grow my bank account the same exact way. So I would say, we have a tool, profit and loss Coffee Experts Academy. So if you want to check that out, profit and loss, all spelled out, Coffee Experts Academy is where you can find a tool. The nice thing on that tool is it tells you exactly what Ben was just lining through. What is a good percentage of what I should be paying for in COGS? And as I start having multiple shops in the future, like that number should also, it's going to be a combined number. So maybe some of your stores, the sales aren't as high, so your COGS look really high because there is probably a baseline COGS you're going to have cost of goods sold. And if your sales are low, it's going to make your COGS look high. But there are going to be other stores where your sales volume is really high and it's going to make your COGS look low because, it's a smaller percentage of your gross sales. So I think that the nice thing about the sheet that we give you at profit and loss Coffee Experts Academy is that it's going to give you a spread of all of it, right? Here's a bunch of different kinds of stores, bunch of different sales variances, and it kind of help you navigate that. It was one we used to use for roasters that had 15 stores. So you have the whole smorgasbord of choices of what is your top line at any given store, and then it should probably be somewhere around this percentage of your COGS. So definitely keep an eye on COGS.
Yeah, it absolutely should never be 47%.
Regardless of the volume, yeah, right.
Regardless of anything. And the thing about that COGS and your profit and losses, this client's sales are really good. Yeah. So like a visionary, if you're constantly watching the sales front end, you feel great. Sales are up. We're up over last year by 15-20%. This is great. This is awesome. Sales are fantastic. And you don't really feel that COGS, that vendor burn, because it's always a month later. Like, it's not like you're not paying for your COGS in real time like you are seeing sales in daily real time. Yep. So it doesn't really hurt as bad until the end of the month, right? So they have got amazing sales, but with COGS at 47%, that amazing sales isn't really that amazing because your bottom line is still getting destroyed. And really those amazing sales are just kind of keeping you afloat. And so the big, like I said with them, okay, who are we using? We're using Metal Gold. Okay, let's start shopping around for milk. They start shopping around, and lo and behold, there's a local vendor here who's just an arm and a leg cheaper than Metal Gold and FSA. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, our milk could be that much cheaper. What about our energy drink. Red Bull just went up by like $1 a can almost.
Yep.
So, okay, now we got to start looking for vendors who are going to give us, a cheaper energy drink. And once you open that can of worms, then it's like, oh my gosh, how much money have I just been leaving on the table everywhere because I just said, well, I just use one vendor and it's the vendor I've always used.
Yeah. So I think probably something that Ben's speaking to here that's really important is for a lot of people when they start, I think vendor communication can be intimidating, right? And you're just going with anybody that will open you. And a lot of times when they open you, you have no history, right? So they're asking about a bunch of personal things that make you a little uncomfortable. Maybe your personal finances hasn't been that great. You just shoestrung this budget together to be able to even open, right? So their finances aren't the most amazing thing you've ever showed anybody, right? And so then they've established you at a rate of what you're going to pay because you're a little bit of a risk. You know what I mean? So I think that as you're thinking about vendors, like Ben was saying, once you've been there for just a little bit, it's really good to push your books back at whoever you're working with, see if they give you a better price. If they won't, you also have an established record now of working with a vendor you can go to another vendor with and say, well, we've been with Meadow Gold for the last 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and we'd like to now come over to you. What can you do for us? And let alone if in the last 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, you've opened more locations.
Yep.
Because now you have more buying power. You're more desirable than when you first started. A lot of people have just stuck with what they had when they started, like you were saying, Ben, and they haven't thought about, oh, should I could be getting better pricing? Yes, you can. And also, maybe there's more of a convenience factor too. There are those ones out there. I know Dick at Avalanche back in the day with Roasters, Ben, was great for us because we were able to multi-source underneath one roof at still a pretty independent, like regional distributor level. Where we could really negotiate pricing because Roasters was a big powerhouse of an ordering engine. You know what I mean? So we could do all of those things. We could store our own energy drinks and blending powder at Dick's warehouse and he would just distribute them for us. And so there are some things that you need to think through of where does convenience factor in? If I buy it all under one roof, maybe I'll pay a little bit more, but is it more convenient than me having to order from a bunch of different places and have a bunch of money going out to a bunch of different sources all at the same time? Maybe you can get better terms if you go and you underneath a consolidated one-stop shop, where it's like they're going to give you better terms. You don't have to do, COD or cash on the barrel when they deliver. They're going to give you 30-day, 60-day terms where you can stretch it out a little bit, which is nice to have a little bit more buying power. It's not going to lock up all your cash in your cost of goods. So I think really thinking through, how am I doing ordering now? Is there a more streamlined way I could do ordering? And how much am I spending on the key items that I'm buying high quantities in? Because I do think that's really important.
And I'll always advocate for, if you can, finding those more local or regional distributors. You just have more play with them than an FSA or what's the other big food service distributor? There's the two big boys in the U.S. US Foods, US Foods and FSA. Those two, those are the most common. And you just don't have, even if you've got 15 locations, you don't have buying power with FSA.
Right.
FSA services every Red Robin from here to New York City. Like, talk about buying power. You got to get up to Red Robin's standards or Applebee's size. But with a local or regional, that buying power actually means something. And then with us, with Dick, that meant that, if I needed to say, hey, our shop is randomly going to be closed tomorrow. Tomorrow is our delivery day. Can we move it to the next day? Sure, no problem. Like that sort of flexibility you get out of a local or regional player when you have that buying power is so much nicer. And FSA would say, okay, sorry, see you next week. We'll see you at normal time next week. Or like you said, we could start storing our products with them. We got to the point where the catalog of things that they distributed, their offerings, wasn't big enough. And I said, hey, can you start carrying just for me this type of soap, this type of paper towel, this type of toilet paper, all these random things? And sure, no problem. We'll go out and get those. We'll start carrying them for you. Because he knew with 15 locations, like that was never just going to sit in the warehouse. That was constantly going to be going out to us. So that type of buying power and just relationship you can get with a local or regional player, I would highly recommend over the FSAs. You might have to deal with a little bit of a technology difference. I'm sure with US Foods, you can jump on an app and with US Foods and just order away. With a more local or regional person, it might be a little bit tougher, but the relationship is worth it.
Yeah. No, I think that So much worth it. And also, Ben, you did some really cool stuff with even roasters cups, right? Didn't you start let's start talking about other ways you can save, right? Owners, think about ways you could be economical. Let's move away from having our own storage unit and put all of our cups up with Dick too, and let him distribute our cups for us when we run out of cups. Let's put, we had talked about, things that we're creating for ourselves that's our own proprietary product also with that guy, because then we're just talking about warehouse space, and we got to a place where we were paying Dick, I think it was $2 a case to store it, $2 a case to deliver it. And so, yeah, there was a $4 cost, but we were still, and it was worth it for the convenience to be able to go to one place. So I think there's some cool relationship you can build with the local guys. That's awesome. Someplace else I saw, Ben, that, we've been working with Cody actually at Houdini with the roasters, most shops are in a consistent rhythm with their roaster that they get their beans from. So we actually, with Indie Coffee Coalition, with our own energy drink, our own, blending powder that we allow coffee shops to white label so they can really drop their costs, get away from the big train, the Red Bulls of the world. We've been talking to roasters like Cody about, hey, could we stage product with you and allow people just to, when they order their beans, order their blending powder, order their energy drink, because then it's just a convenience factor, right? Then we're cutting down, consolidating on the number of vendors your managers or assistant managers have to order through. And they just know when I go to order beans, hey, how are we looking on energy drink? How are we looking on frap? Awesome. Throw in a couple of boxes, and then they can just consolidate under that. So I think there is some cool stuff too that you can just rethink through on, how am I ordering what I'm ordering? And have I thought about ways that I can, price slash by maybe, I had a long talk with one of our clients about moving away from Red Bull and giving India a shot, because we're 5 to 7 times cheaper than Red Bull, especially as Red Bull raises their price point, and we have an equivalent taste, So I think that when it comes to thinking through, okay, so how could I make money by saving money? There's levers you can pull of, okay, well, am I only using a vendor that I've used for years and years? I could pull that lever. Have I thought about a consolidated vendor where a local regional distributor, I can pull a lever of maybe holding some stuff there and cut down on some storage, cut down on some pieces there? Is there the lever of maybe I can move away from established big box, big brand names to maybe something of my own proprietary blend, or pay a company like Indie who has knocked off a flavor and a profile that is a much cheaper solution. And so my cost per cup just dropped radically, which just grew my profitability. So I think there are a couple of different levers, but I really do think that it all starts with how clean are your books? Because until you started separating your line items, we really advocate at profitandloss.coffee experts academy, free tool, but we really talk about how's your chart of accounts lined out. Because if you're not breaking out your cogs where your beans are separated from your dry goods, are separated from your milk, are separated from your energy, are separated, we give you a whole list of 5 to 7 things we think we should be breaking out in your cogs, so that you can see as prices rise over a set of months to know, hey, I need to go negotiate because milk has gotten outrageous, or beans have gotten outrageous, or whatever it is that I'm paying, and really have a good strategy based on that.
Yep. I mean, and everything we've been talking about too, we haven't even touched on just the payroll expense of the time it takes to if you're using an FSA here and a vendor here and a vendor here and a vendor here, that alone is just time, either your time going through the books, going through invoices, or your manager's time, extra time spent by them reconciling those invoices. If I've got 4 different vendors who I'm all getting deliveries from on a Thursday, how many more hours is that I have to spend every Thursday reconciling those invoices through what's delivered? If I can get my beans and my frat mix and my Red Bull from one spot, and all I have to do is look at one invoice, that's that much less time I spend during the day.
So good. And I know I pitched out to Jarek at Swag just yesterday. I'm like, hey, how are things looking with X, Y, and Z? And Jarek gets his invoice, he gets his pricing updates once a month. He has his vendors send once a month his pricing to make sure, because your rep will always tell you, no, yes. It's always same price. It's I'd like to see the line shape, please, just for the sake of, let's make sure the main things we're buying are still saying the same price that they told us it was going to be. So that's another great practice. If you're not doing that, especially the big ticket things that you're buying, ask them to send you the updated line sheet, just so you know, just so that you're not challenging anybody, but trust but verify. That's the saying. I think it's a smart thing to do. So coffee experts, I hope this helped you out today. And once again, profitandloss.coffee experts academy. If you haven't grabbed that free tool, I think it's a great one. So Ben Clatterbuck, always a scholar and a gentleman. Appreciate your time. Drew Moody, man, I hope you make it back to us one day. And we'll see you guys next week here. Same place, same time. Coffee Experts Club.
Thanks, guys.